Greetings, Commanders. My name is Erik Teren Mullins, and today we're going to be checking out Azur Lanes, made by Apex Innovations, Amagi, the Wending Waters Serene Lotus version. She's a 1/7 figure, and of course this is an alternate costume to this character right here. A quick apology about my voice, it might crack up here and there due to the fact that I recently got the virus of unspecified origins, and it lasted me 2 weeks, and I guess it's still kind of going. Oh, stupid lungs, get better. Oh, my lungs. Of course, just by looking at this figure from first glance, she is extremely extravagant. There's so much going on here. Her base looks phenomenal, but when you put a microscope to this figure, does it still look as good? Let's find out. Just to mention, if you'd like to see the unboxing and a quick overview of this figure, I'll put the link in my description down below. I made a short for it. This base is nuts. It gives me cookie cutter vibes, and I'm all for it. It's so cool. Maybe I personally would have preferred the blue to be a little bit darker. As it is, it's kind of light and I would almost say a little too light. I'm not going to knock on that too much. This base really is quite impressive. We've got a nice thick acrylic translucent blue. The actual top part of this acrylic has sculpture minor waves in it, which is just amazing. That surrounds all the pieces that are in the water. Very unexpected and extremely welcome. Apex is just amazing to see how you've evolved in such a positive way over the years. Of course, this base plate isn't without its minor faults here and there, mainly due to the fact that the way that the plastic pieces that intersect and go into the clear acrylic have to be glued in there. You do notice the little cutout marks from where they're inserted. There's no avoiding this than perhaps having done what I had mentioned earlier and making the water darker. But it's definitely not a deal breaker, especially when seen from a shelf. We've got these two lovely orbs down at the bottom, and I'd say they do a fairly good job at mimicking the source material, though the larger one, the gold pieces that are here strapping around it, have much more sharper edges. It's really not too bad as just a ball. It kind of works with everything else that she has going on here. Afterwards, we have this epic tree stump coming out of the water. This thing actually has some gloss near the base of it, which is terrific, gives it a bit more of that wet feeling, though I personally probably would have made the wood a little bit darker. Despite saying this, it's not darker in the artwork, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt. It's nicely sculpted, though everything does seem rather smooth. I think things should have been a little edgier, really giving off more of that wood feeling, but this is just my personal take. It does really look good, and I love how we have little pieces kind of allocated all throughout this base. When you go to the back, you can actually see the way everything kind of branches through the water, and this is really terrific. A great way to kind of cut the weight on this figure, and she is extremely hefty. She is not wobbling at all. But this is. And the personalized artistic creative ideas of the sculptor for this tree base really come to life in the back. It's gorgeous. This branch goes all the way up, and as it comes out near the back, we have a beautiful material fabric that is thrown over one branch and comes all the way down and across a part of her rigging. This thing actually looks like real fabric. The level of textures that we have on here with nice metallics to really just emphasize all those curves. It also has some really well-placed shading as we get into the front, where there's this cute little illustration of a crane, which is, you know, kind of funny considering it's draping over a part of her rigging, which is a crane. I wonder if that was thought out ahead of time. Now, before I get too far into this, I'm going to mention one thing about the artwork I always thought was kind of cool, and that's the inclusion of all these tiny little flying white seagulls all across the illustration. It made it look like Amagi was huge, the size of an actual boat, as opposed to a shrunk down anthropomorphic boat girl. And there's just something about the fact that she was this massive Godzilla-sized creature that I really, really loved. The fact that we don't have those birds here is in no means like, it's not bad, okay? She looks amazing. It's just to say that it kind of gets rid of a bit of that monster over the size effect, and it makes her seem a lot more to scale with the rest of your Azur Lane figures. I guess that this is more of a hit than a miss, but I just like the birds and the oversized concept. The crane rigging is really well sculpted. We actually have a metallic wire that goes up and through it nicely with the clamp down at the bottom. This thing doesn't open or close. This thing kind of moves, but overall the metal that they use here is pretty static, which is good because you don't want it like flipping around, banging into things. We get a lot of detail work like the rivets that are well placed and a lovely warmer grade shading to really give off this older rusted steel look. It's very nice. Meanwhile, on her opposing side, this rigging comes out really well, has a lot of the same kind of accents and colors, where it goes up into this well-placed somewhat shelf that's housing one of her turrets. This thing doesn't move. I tried putting a bit more muscle into moving it, thinking maybe it does, similar to the altar figures, but it does not. I really pushed hard. I don't want to break it, so if any of you out there managed to get it to move, please write so in the comments below. The turret is really well shaded, beautiful sculpt work, and we get some nice shaded metallics for the barrels that do an excellent job at separating it from the more matte steel of the rest of this weaponry. You could just see from underneath this base that all of this stuff is really plugged in there and so strongly. And I really like the fact that it's a lot longer and not too wide. This allows it to fit on all sorts of different types of shelves really well. The idea that this is such a big figure, but she still seems relatively low, makes it perfect, so if you have any kind of acrylic standees, you can always place one to be able to put other characters behind her and they'll still shine very nicely. And that's it for the base. This base is wild. It's so impressive. It's just fantastic. It's phenomenal. It's gorgeous. Her shoes are a nice gloss. It really makes me think of lacquered wood. Cute little red transparent attachment for the toes. However, I think I would have made it opaque and similar to the red that we have at the bottom of her shoe. The foot itself is well sculpted. Maybe I would have dug a little more in between each one of the toes, but it's not too bad. And we do have a nice layered on gloss for the toenails. The sculpt work for the foot is pretty good. We get a little bit of shading here and there as it goes up into her slender calves and her slender yet robust thigh. Robust because the attachment she has going around her right leg here really digs in nicely and you have a beautiful beveling of her skin. There's nice gloss and metallics on this which do an excellent job at breaking the monotony of too much matte on the figure. It's just really well thought out. Meanwhile, on her left leg, it's well sculpted, bent and going underneath her bottom, where they did an excellent job at sculpting underneath her foot here. So for you foot people out there, rejoice! Apex really thought of you when they did this. We then go up into her hips. Nice and simply sculpted, not overly defined, but my goodness do they do a great job with that skin beveling when things are attached like this lower piece to her bathing suit. We even have a little bit of shading on it, which is very impressive for something so thin. It looks very well sculpted down near the front, but you can't really see it all that well due to the large transparent piece of clothing going over the top. Underneath her chest, she has this attachment. It looks kind of like an obi. It's cute, well designed, and looks similar to the illustration, which is phenomenal. We get all sorts of little pieces attached into little pieces here with really nice printing, and you can just tell that they put a lot of care into this area because it's really a focal point on the character. This thing is helping to attach the material that goes in the front and the back of her body, and this is where I have a little bit of an issue. The reason that this material is supposed to be transparent is due to the fact that it's wet from the water, from her base that she's on. It's just really a nice base. However, the figure here just makes everything transparent, as if she's all completely wet already. I can see that they attempted to do the whiter, more opaque effect, slowly going down into transparencies around the arms, but for her main body dress on the front and the back, they just went completely transparent, and I am not particularly a fan. On one hand, you get to see the sculpt work behind it a little bit, but even at that, it hides it so much that there's no point. It should have been a more opaque white, along with a bit of shading that really would have cut in and formed her body a lot better, similar to the artwork. As a rule, on figures, I'm generally not a fan of this kind of transparent plastic because I never find it looks that great. It's so hard to work with this medium, and I can see that they definitely struggled here. Despite that, the sculpt work is very nice, and I love how we get a bit of iridescence mixed in there, so it shines really beautifully. Going up into her chest, it is very impressive, well sculpted, and being held together nicely by this really beautiful top that has an excellent shade of white. It's matte, and though I would have loved if the little red line printed here was actually material to make it seem like it's the rope being stranded through, I'm not going to knock it too much because from a shelf it does really look good. I don't think that this is a forced cast-off figure, but it definitely looks like it could be. I would never take that risk. This figure is kind of pricey, and I don't think it's worth breaking it in order to show something off that was never intended to be shown off in the first place. Her collarbone is beautifully defined, and I'm always such a fan of this. As it goes up into the cute little ribbon around her neck, this thing is done in a semi-gloss, and I think I personally would have liked maybe a tiny little bit of shading here or there to make certain parts of it pop a bit better. Her shoulders look soft, smooth, delicate as we go down into her right arm, where she has these lovely gloss designs that are just kind of like spinning around her biceps, and then it goes into the white transparent plastic that wafts over her as sleeves. This is supposed to clip into the circular gloss piece that we have here, but I feel like it doesn't clip in it super well. That's supposed to be holding the material there. Not particularly well done when seen from a microscope, but when you do look at it from a shelf, you won't really notice. Here you can see that they actually attempted to do the more opaque white as it goes down into a more transparent color, but then for some reason as it gets further down it becomes more opaque. I think I already made my point clear about this kind of transparent plastic, so I'm not going to go too much further into it. Her right hand opens up and I'd say it only looks okay from the inside. The outside looks a lot nicer. Personally, her index finger doesn't go down as far as the illustration, but I like that. I find it feels a little more natural here. The ball that she's holding itself has some lovely gloss, great printing all over it. It looks good. There are a few sections here and there that aren't perfectly connecting, but that's okay. It kind of makes it feel more like it's a handmade item, which I wouldn't throw past Amagi. While her left arm is slender, nice, sharp elbow, which is very anime, going up into her hand, glove that she's wearing really digs in, I would say, a bit too much. It is beveling her skin outwards again, and personally, I would have made this look more like it's on top of her skin like a leather. We get a couple of ropes that go up in between the index finger and the thumb, and it doesn't feel like it's necessarily connecting from this whole leather glove handpiece. This part isn't perfect, but from a shelf, once again, it's gonna look all right. The hands all have a nice, cute, somewhat pinkish gloss for the nails. The neck goes into the little ribbon attachment. Okay, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's not bad, as it then slides up into the bottom of her face, where you can see it break off and go into the connection of her human ears. Apex. What the human ears? Just to double check, because Azur Lane, you know, they kind of do a little bit of everything with their monster gals. So it's possible, right? I'm fairly certain they do have some characters that have both. It's a whole made-up monster universe that they created, but I'm personally not a fan of having human ears and fox ears at the same time. None of the artwork that exists of her shows human ears. Not a single one. I looked at all the reference shots. I looked at the in-game models. I looked at the art that they used during the loading screens. None of them shows the ears for most of their Sakura Empire Fox Girl characters, because us illustrators that draw monster girls just know. These are the ears. If there's a loud sound, she covers here. So now she has 4 ears. Super weird. I'm personally not a fan of this. It's okay if you are. This is a monster girl after all. She doesn't have to adhere to a specific set of guidelines in their design. As a general rule, having 4 ears is kind of weird. And if you were going to do that, I would have put maybe a whole bunch of different types of ears, and really, like, that kind of would have been more of the focal point, is the whole ear thing to make it even more monstrous. But this isn't some sort of Cthulhu Schwarzwaldian creature. This is a cute Kitsune. You could make the debate that the human ears are there because when she hides her fox ears, she uses that to bring in the sailors or to manipulate other humans, because that's how Kitsunes in a lot of Japanese folklore would go. But this isn't a Japanese folklore Kitsune. This is an anthropomorphized World War I, refit World War II boat girl from Azur Lane monster. It's very noticeable. You see the way that her face kind of breaks out and goes into them, and from specific angles you see the ear very clearly. Apex, what the heck? Just follow the source material. Of course, source material isn't 3-dimensional, and I can understand why the person just looking at this picture would think, oh yeah, well, of course I have to do this. I'm going too far into this, like I always do with my fox girls that have ears. Let's just say that that's a part of this figure that it just personally frustrates me. Her face is really well rounded with sharp features. We get a little bit of gloss for the lips, a faint red outline around her mouth, which does an excellent job from a distance, giving off the same facial expression that we get from the illustration. And the eye decals are actually very well done. We get a semi-gloss that seems to go over the eyeball part, where once we get into the eyelashes, everything becomes matte, which is something I really love. The eyebrows are cute, larger round circles, and very high up on the forehead, which is adorable and very fitting for the type of makeup that we have on this costume for Amagi. She then has this really cute accessory clipped to the right side of her hair, and this thing looks like it was done with a lot of love and care, as we get quite a bit of shading and different types of textures on here, along with 2 little prints that almost feel like flowers put on the hair on top. The hair itself is done using a transparent plastic that is opaque and slowly goes into transparencies, but it's much more opaque than it is transparent, and that's something I'm very happy with. I would have loved to see the dress done similarly. The warmer browns that we get here do an excellent job at making her face seem a lot rounder and larger than it is, which is perfect for an anime manga style figure. Unfortunately, the front to the back, we get a huge cutout in its design where you can clearly see where it was plugged on there, but because of the way the haircut is, you can argue that these are the strands of hairs coming down around her. What you can't argue are all the strands that, like Play-Doh, were just kind of plugged in here and there to add extra volume to her hair. As 2 strands of her hair do kind of split up and get attachments to them, these little attachments are super cute. They're done with a matte coloring, and we get a nice gloss band around the center with a print motif on the red. The hair on this character is absolutely insane. We have it flowing all over the place. It's split up every which way. So many little strands. It's extremely ambitious, and it's impressive of what they managed to pull off with what they had. However, when something is this ambitious, you always end up with those little glued in pieces here and there. They all stick out kind of like a sore thumb when seen from a medium to closer view. Genuinely, they're well hidden behind the figure. So if you're not putting a giant mirror behind her, you're not going to see them. Putting a mirror behind this figure would be really fantastic, especially since there's a lot of detail back here that they clearly put work into, especially when we start getting into her tails. They are absolutely gorgeous. Big, fluffy poofs. They're done using a lighter brown that goes into a darker brown that's similar to her hair, which is just fantastic because it feels like it's a part of her. It goes into her, it weaves in with the rest of the type of hair that she has on her body, so you don't think, oh, this is something plugged on after the fact. It really looks like it's just a part of who and what she is. We get all 6 of them, and they have so much personality as they're even divvied up between the rigging. These poofy tails are just terrific. Her ears jute out of her hair, and they're done in the same texture as her hair, and they're all interconnected with it. It's gorgeous, and it does an excellent job at mimicking the art style, as well as what Azur Lane kind of goes for, where it really feels like the ears are coming out, and all the hair and fur that you have from the ears just kind of seamlessly go into the hair. It's really nice, it's well done here, and they pop out beautifully, though personally, I think I might have added a little bit of brown or highlight around the back of them to kind of give us a nice callback to these lighter browns that we have on her big poofy tails. Upon her release, she was going for 33,700 yen, which is kind of expensive. But in comparison to what you're getting here, the base plate, the weight, this girl is hefty. What the heck? I almost worry that if you had a couple figures like this put into a detolf all at once, it would crack the glass. This has some weight to it, and there's so much detail going on that you don't necessarily want to have her just out on display without it being shielded by some sort of glass, because the dusting on this figure seems like it would kind of be a real nightmare. If you wanted to go all out and Amagi's one of your favorite characters of all time, I know that there was one that was even more expensive, a version that came with a large acrylic case. I'll show a factory picture of it here, and this thing was huge, and I'm gonna bring this up, but the shipping is unbelievably expensive. It's really similar to one of Apex's older figures that they made that I had gotten, where I was forced to get this massive jade palace for Ningguang, and the shipping alone cost me the same price as the figure. Imagine getting this, paying the extra 7,000 yen for a beautiful acrylic case for her to protect her. And not only are you gonna have to pay that extra for the acrylic case for her, which is massive, by the way. Who has the kind of space to house something like that? It's so big, and I'm sure some of you out there do. It's a lot. Then imagine the extra shipping they tack on top of that, because they actually put it in an even larger box. My shipping cost for her to my country cost me 16,000 yen. That's the price of a Kotobukiya figure. And the fact that I had to spend that, and then if I wanted the extra piece, it would have been that extra 7,000 yen, and then it would be even more shipping because the box is even bigger. You're looking at probably close to 25,000 yen in shipping. That's ludicrous. For that price, you could literally get Noshiro Hold the Ice, which is an absolutely incredible figure. It's too expensive for something like that, and they should have definitely found a way to close everything up, make it smaller, and ship it in just a smaller format. Even this figure, had she come apart into pieces and then you put her together, would have saved on the shipping. I just find it crazy that they didn't think of that. Of course, the positives that you get from her being all one chunk is the fact that she is super solid. Are you a big fan of Amagi? Did you end up picking up this figure, or did you get the one with the massive acrylic casing? And if you did, could you please write down in the comments below where or how you displayed it with that acrylic display, because that's so wild to me. Like, I'm very curious. And can that acrylic display hold other figures on top of it, or is it a kind of weaker structure that putting things with weight on there might damage it and you don't want collapsing? Here we are, two gorgeous figures based off of incredible illustrations. On the one hand, we have Shinano from Good Smile Arts Company, Shanghai. And on the other hand, the figure we reviewed today of Amagi. For those of you that have seen my review on this one, she's too small. This is supposed to be a character that's roughly 6 feet, and when you compare it to Amagi, who's like 5'5" or so, Amagi is really well scaled, and she looks good next to my altar and a bunch of my other figures. Here they are, next to Kotobukiya's Ryohu, next to Noshiro, and this adorable wedding Ayanami. And for fun, I'm also going to put in Fate's Tamama no Mai because she's a really good Kitsune, and she definitely has the big fluffy poofy tail that I would say is kind of the standard for big fluffy tails. It's just really well sculpted. All of these gals are supposed to be 1/7, but of course we know that Shinano over here isn't. She's actually a 1/8. She was just sold to us as a 1/7. If you would like to see more on that, you can always check it out in my review for her. The real reason I wanted to compare these two in particular is because price-wise, they are extremely close. I would say quality-wise, paint application, and even a little bit in construction, Shinano here wins out over Amagi. But due to the fact that Amagi is done in the proper sizing, and she's still extremely good, I'm like really nitpicking when I'm comparing the differences between the two in quality. If you run a bunch of 1/8 figures, Shinano is going to be perfect. But on your 1/7 shelves, this is really a nice figure, but at the end of the day, big puffy girl fox supremacy wins. I just love these big poofy tails. If you still feel like you're kind of on the fence about getting this figure, I always suggest to either check out other people's reviews here and there, get different perspectives, as well as maybe checking out the My Figure Collection webpage. I'll put a link in the description for her below. And remember that if you like my video just a little bit, it doesn't cost much to. Give me a salute and hit that like. Rather than wending the waters with Serene Lotus, why not take action and hit that subscribe? It really goes a long way at helping grow my channel. And don't forget to ping that notification bell and leave a comment. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Acrylic case for her to protect her from all the shading. Good Smile Arts. Freaking annoying. So I'm not going to go too much further. Oh my gosh, you. For decor and other figures. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.